Located 22 miles south of Nashville, Franklin, Tennessee is our holiday destination for episode 106 of The Family Vacationer, and it starts right now.
Welcome to The Family Vacationer with Rob and Danny. The go-to podcast for families on the move.
Welcome, friends. I'm Rob.
And I'm Danny, and this is episode 106 of The Family Vacationer. We are so glad you're with us, and we hope you're having a wonderful holiday season. If you missed last week, we kicked off our holiday destination series with a look at Santa Claus, Indiana. We definitely recommend going back and giving that episode a listen. In fact, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our episodes. Now, you can also follow the show on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and watch the video version of the show on YouTube, and read the family blog on thefamilyvacationer.live.
So lots of ways to connect with us and with the show. Well, this week, we take a look at Franklin, Tennessee. Now, this town may be a suburb of Nashville, but it certainly has a personality all its own. Franklin has some really fun and quirky shops, some great food, absolutely awesome live music, and it's bursting with Southern charm. If you think about the quintessential small Southern town, that's Franklin, Tennessee. The holidays bring about so many wonderful traditions in this town, from the rising of the Noel sign to all of the many activities at the Franklin Theater. Holidays in Middle Tennessee are truly special. So joining us today to talk about Franklin, Tennessee is Matthew Maxey. Matthew is the Director of Public Relations at Visit Franklin. He's a 6-year veteran of the tourism industry and currently serves on the National Executive Committee for the Public Relations Society of America's Travel and Tourism section. When not working in the world of tourism, Matthew is a freelance contributed photographer to multiple Nashville-based media outlets. Matthew, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on. So, Matthew, first off, even though Franklin is close to a city like Nashville with a really distinct personality, Franklin really has its own personality. So how would you describe Franklin to someone who's never been there before?
Yeah, so most everyone's probably familiar with Nashville and kind of knows it's famous for music. And to use kind of a music metaphor, if picture Nashville like the big arena show of a concert, Franklin would say is like the acoustic version. It's a little slower. It's not quite the neon light scene that you might find in Nashville. Our music scene's a lot more acoustic on a stool kind of vibe, and just kind of the overall vibe of Franklin is a little bit slower than that, in the charming small town type of way. We're still plenty of things to do and see. There's over 60 national and international corporate headquarters that are located in Franklin, so we're a worldwide city, but still have that small town charm with classic Main Street. And most all those names that make Nashville famous actually live down in Franklin, so you get a lot of the creative atmosphere too.
I know when I lived in the area, Christmas in Middle Tennessee was always my favorite time. So what kind of events and activities are going on in Franklin during the holidays?
As you know, there's really no shortage of events and things going on in Franklin around there. There's a kind of, after you turn the page on Thanksgiving and get into the next weekend, really it turns into that first weekend's a real big shopping weekend. Our Main Street is one of the most iconic in America, and his Shop Small Saturday is a massive day for them because it's on our 16 blocks of our downtown area. It's almost entirely locally owned shops and restaurants, so it's a Shop Small Saturday is a big day for them. And then virtually every weekend through Christmas, it's like a festival is in town. The first weekend after that, it's the Christmas tree lighting, and that is a festival all in its own. And it's you picture what a Hallmark movie when they do the town Christmas tree lighting.
Yeah, right.
It's like that. It's like that on steroids in Franklin. Cool. This year, the contemporary Christian artist Matthew West is hosting the Christmas tree lighting.
Oh, cool.
He's written he hosted it last year, and in the past have been like Kathy Lee Gifford hosted it the year prior, and so it's different musical acts will host it. This year, Matthew has written a song called "Come Home for Christmas" about his home here, and it has been turned into a movie. And then the new kind of like Hallmark adjacent channel, Great American Family Channel, has picked it up as their theme song for their entire holiday movies kind of throughout the season. He's hosting a whole Come Home for Christmas festival during the tree lighting. So people can come for concerts and surprise guests from him, come to the tree lighting, experience Franklin. And that's just the first weekend. It's the second weekend of Christmas. It's most famous for Downtown Franklin turns into a Charles Dickens novel for Dickens of a Christmas.
Right.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
It's a 2-day weekend. 100,000 plus folks will come in, and there's dancers, performers, entertainment, lots and lots of Charles Dickens characters. So if you ever had a bone to pick with any of them, like, this is your chance to talk to them in person and interact, and carriage rides for kids, and very, very family friendly type of event. And of course, you've got plenty of carolers and hot chocolate sipping and guaranteed snow.
Oh my gosh.
Real or artificial, depending on how the temperatures go.
Right.
Hey,
I know there's a lot of stuff. I was going to say there's a lot of stuff going on at the Franklin Theater as well, correct?
There is. So kind of throughout all of December, it's the Franklin Theater. Now it's mostly a concert venue where acts from across the country come in and perform. But in December, it turns into its classic movie house form. It's been there since the 1930s. It's this great Art Deco spot. And you go in there and you can have, the real popcorn sitting in a 1930s style theater watching, A Christmas Carol, It's a Wonderful Life, all those great classic Christmas movies.
Yeah.
It's an amazing place for sure.
Yeah. So a while ago, you mentioned, these little local owned business, and you mentioned restaurants. So, if you know Rob and me, you've sparked our interest. Yes. So, we know there are a lot of great places to eat in and around Franklin, but what are some of those places that you recommend families visit when they're in town, and throw in any holiday offerings that shouldn't be missed if you know of any too?
Well, a couple, when you're coming to Franklin to the south, there's a couple like Southern staples you just expect to have.
Yeah.
And it's a place to get just like a classic Southern meal is a place called Puckett's. It's started here in Franklin. Now it's expanded across Tennessee and into parts of Alabama, but it's right in downtown. You can get your fried chicken, your banana puddings, those types of things. And because music kind of permeates everything, there's also a stage inside of Puckett's, and it's a place where guys like Jimmy Allen, Walker Hayes have been discovered. Carly Pierce played up there, got her early starts. Thomas Rhett, loads of names have gotten their start and discovered right on that small stage inside a restaurant in downtown Franklin. And it's I mentioned Walker Hayes. If people are traveling with kids, they've probably heard his song Fancy Like on repeat a lot for the last year or two.
Too many times. Too many times.
While he was getting his start, he actually hosted Walker Wednesdays, kind of the open mic night at Puckett's for several years before he got his big break.
Oh man!
So there are folks like that around at all kinds of restaurants and places, but some others that people can eat. There's a spot in downtown Franklin called Biscuit Love, and it specializes in what you might expect. Lots of just great biscuits and biscuit dishes. And uniquely to Franklin's history, we used to have a flour mill in downtown, several decades ago. The family that owned it lived in the house that's now the home of a biscuit restaurant. So it's a kind of a serendipitous future for that house there.
That's a natural evolution, right?
Yeah. So it's people that know of Nashville as the home of hot chicken now. And so one of the most famous brands is one called Hattie B's hot chicken. So in Franklin, we have Bishop's Meat and Three, which the B in Hattie B's is Bishop. That's for Hattie Bishop. So this is kind of part of that family and an evolution of that. And it's your classic meat and three. You can go get, it's your meat and three sides and a great dessert and just a classic Southern meal right there in Franklin. And another great one with kids in mind is a place called Mojo's Tacos. And it is located inside the factory at Franklin, which is a redesigned former stove and mattress factory. And it's a great fun taco spot. But being inside the factory, you also have several other shops and restaurants that are nearby, including Five Daughters Bakery. And they have there's some holiday themed donuts, and they're always going to have their famed 100-layer donuts.
Oh,
Ooh,
those are so good.
great.
Those are so good.
Around there. Yeah. So it's those are some great spots, and each of them kind of have their some holiday specials around the year. And
I'm taking notes, so I got it. It's good.
I can't remember. Is Loveless, is that considered Franklin, or is that?
it's technically in Nashville, but it's
Okay.
literally like a rock's throwing distance from us. So it's
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that one's on my to-do list every time I'm in town for sure.
and I actually live right behind it. So
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I know Franklin has all the places to stay that, all the franchise places, but can you call out some family-friendly lodging in the area?
yeah. So like you mentioned, I mean, we've got 50 plus of the national hotels that anyone could want to stay in. A couple of those, one that is in downtown Franklin, so if people wanted to be walkable to all kinds of stuff, it's called the Harpeth Hotel. It's a Curio by Hilton property, so it's feels like it's a very much an independent property, and it's very family friendly, right downtown, walkable. If anyone is traveling with young girls or boys that just love American Girl, there is the only American Girl store in the region is in Franklin, and the hotel, the Town Place Suites, it's right next to it, has a massive American Girl suite. So you can come and stay in the American Girl dolls and just be in everything you could ever imagine of this incredibly pink, massive suite that's all things American Girl.
Wow.
It's outside of just the big hotel brands. We have loads and loads of really cool, unique vacation rentals in town too. So a couple that come to mind is a suite of them called Pot and Kettle Cottages. They're out in the little village of Leapers Fork, which is just outside of downtown Franklin, and it's a place that's just built for relaxing. It's full of creative folks and music, art, and just wide open space. So it's a great place. These cottages, they range in 3-bedroom up to ones that'll sleep 10 and 12. So you can take the whole family out there, and it's tire swings, bikes, just all kinds of stuff to just get outside and be a kid. Mm-hmm. And then if you have any kids that are kind of musically inclined, Dark Horse Recording Studio in Franklin now has cottages at it. So this is a recording studio where Taylor Swift recorded her first album. Carrie Underwood, Keith Urban, half the names of music you can think of right now have probably recorded there and still do today. It's still an active recording studio. But back in the day, these acts had to come in and stay for days on end, and the bands had to come in. They all needed somewhere to stay. That's not exactly the case that it's needed anymore. So they took these sleeping areas, turned them into Airbnbs, and now you and I can come stay there, and you've got run of the place while you're there. So if someone's there recording, you can stand on the other side of the glass and watch, and you're at the recording studio, just sleeping and eating like you're in a vacation rental. But oh, by the way, there could be a Grammy winner making their next album.
That's
just
awesome.
Down the hall.
Yeah. Wow,
man, that is cool.
So,
that is cool.
Yeah. So, I want to ask you, Christmas is the best time of the year, but I have to put it aside for just a minute. The town's worth a visit during any season. So what are some of the festivals and activities that take place in Franklin?
I mentioned the Dickens of a Christmas festival that takes over kind of our entire downtown Main Street area. That happens 2 other times a year too. So we just finished the fall where there was a pumpkin fest. That brought 100,000 people to downtown Franklin to kind of experience all things fall. And these all have, and it's in the spring, it's a Main Street festival in April, and both of them, they're just loads of live music, kid activities, kid central spots, also, cocktails and food for mom and dad and parents that might need that throughout a day at the festival. The biggest festival in town each year is called Pilgrimage Music and Cultural Festival. It happens the last weekends of September every year, and it is located in a 200-acre former horse farm that is right in our downtown area, modeled after the Jazz Fest. And it is a festival that was started by Kevin Griffin, the lead singer of Better Than Ezra. And co-produced by an up-and-coming musician called Justin Timberlake. So kind of
New
together.
guy, right?
Yeah, together them and some others that are involved have put this on for the last 8 years. It's Rolling Stones called it the best curated festival in America. And what makes it really kid friendly is that one of these stages is dedicated entirely to kids.
That's
so you
cool.
might, it's in years past, the stages look like a pirate ship and kind of takes different forms each year. So you've got stuff from the youngest of kids, dressing like a pirate and singing fun songs like that. And, the next stage over, you've got, Chris Stapleton playing this year and other, massive acts. So modeled after the Jazz Fest, you've got lots of music on 3 to 4 different stages, which are over 200 acres. So there's lots of areas for different food outlets. You can just spread out on a blanket and watch from 100 yards away if you want, or you can be right up front, jumping and having a grand old time.
That's awesome. So you're not packed in like sardines. That's great.
Yeah, if you're packed in, it's only because you want to be.
Right. Yeah. Cool. I noticed on your website something interesting. You had these digital passports. Can you talk about what those are? The Sweet Treats Trail, the Midnight Sun Scavenger Hunt, and there was a ton more.
Yeah, so it's a bunch of those. It's people love to get around and kind of check in places, and kind of it's a quick curated list of kind of the cool, fun things around town. And the ones you mentioned specifically, like Sweet Treats, we have a load of bakeries and places to get candies and just kind of the different sweet treats around Franklin. So what better thing than to make a goal to go see all of them?
Right.
So it's kind of capitalizing on the Travel Channel called this one of the best places in the world for people with a sweet tooth a couple of years ago. So
I did not know that. I'll have to take advantage of that on my next trip.
So people can get these digital passports. They're available on our website. They're free. All you do is click on them and it'll open up on your phone just in a kind of a web-based, feels like you're working with an app, which there's nothing really to download.
Right.
Go to these places, check in. If you go to a certain amount on each of the different passports, we'll give you a free prize at the visitor center after. But the real joy is just getting to go to try cupcakes and sundaes and all kinds of different treats at these different sweet spots. And you mentioned the Midnight Sun Scavenger Hunt. That's one that's geared primarily towards younger kids. So hidden around downtown Franklin are several miniature horse statues, and Midnight Sun was a grand champion walking horse that's from Franklin. So it actually was sired and spent its life on the horse farm that's now where that pilgrimage festival is. But it won the grand championship back in the 1940s, and ever since, each of the grand champion Tennessee walking horses have been from its line. So Midnight Sun was quite the walking horse in his day, and paying homage to that, people can do this scavenger hunt, and it's some fairly easy little history questions around downtown Franklin, and they go to the spots where the horse statues are, and kind of the kids can spot those and be on the lookout for them. And then once they collect their prizes at the end at the visitor center for it too.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. So we've got coffee trails and various walking trails for people for history or architecture, or haunts and headstones for people looking for the ghost stories.
So there's a ton of
trails.
There's a ton of Civil War history in Franklin as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we were the location for the Battle of Franklin, one of the final battles of the Civil War, and kind of uniquely for us, ours happened in our city center. Most of them happened in big open fields. You think Gettysburg and Shiloh and other places. Ours was in the downtown core. So it's the Civil War certainly has left a mark on Franklin quite a bit. And depending on the age of kids coming, it can be a 3-hour experience or 3 days. There's enough for people to dive in as deeply as they want to.
Yeah.
In the Civil War. And what I'm personally just incredibly proud about for Franklin is how we're telling the full story of the Civil War.
Sure.
So when people go to the homes and do tours or battlefield tours, they're hearing the real reasons that the Civil War was fought. And it's obviously those are done at age appropriate levels, depending on the tour people are going on. But then when you go into downtown Franklin, you're also going to see statues to the U.S. colored troops who were ironically the only statue to U.S. colored troops that's on public land in America is on Franklin's
wow.
public square.
Mm.
So there are very few of these memorials honoring these troops that signed up to fight for the U.S. Army in the war, and the ones that were freed after the Battle of Franklin signed up in our courthouse or our court square, and they weren't honored properly, so we changed that. And now when people come through our town, they'll see a statue to, the USCT soldiers and also the other Civil War landmarks that are in our towns. But they'll see the fuller version of the story, not just
Right.
a condensed version that has been for years.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize this fun fact that Franklin was named after Benjamin Franklin. I never knew that. Little fun
It
fact.
was. Yeah, I wish there was some great story about he was sitting on a park bench and that's why in Franklin, that's why. But at the time, people were naming it after, great Americans, and he was the one they chose.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite characters from our American history. He was every bit of character, so that's awesome.
Yes, yes, he was.
Hey, so Matthew, I want to get a little personal now. I want to ask you two things. First of all, what are your personal favorite parts of town? And when you have family and friends coming in, where do you take them?
So I mentioned the little village of Leaper's Fork earlier, and it's just outside of downtown Franklin. The population 650, but it's the kind of little village that within it you're going to find place you eat barbecue on a paper plate. That's also a world-class music venue next door to one of the top art galleries in the Southeast, which is next to great little restaurants and shops, all within what's smaller than a typical city block. And this is the area where a lot of those big names that make world-renowned music call home. And the place I mentioned, that's a barbecue restaurant you eat on a paper plate, but also music's called Fox and Lock, and they have live music. It's most every night, but then Thursday nights are when they're known for their open mic. So when people move to Nashville area in Middle Tennessee, they want to play the Bluebird and they want to play Fox and Lock. These are the places where music producers and those looking for the next big name are also hanging out. And I've been there and seen someone just kill it on the stage, and then you see these folks just kind of make their way to the side of the stage and meet them right at the right off the side, and it's those folks wind up on the radio and with record deals, and there's several that have been discovered on that stage.
Wow.
It's also just a safe creative space. So like in New York, there's comedy clubs where comics will go and try out their new stuff, and things are out in Malibu, there's places where people kind of go and test their new stuff where they take it to the world. This is what Fox and Lock is for the music world here, because I've seen countless Grammy winners get up there just kind of unannounced and test some new stuff, or they're just there and feeling the moment, want to play. This is where they live, so it's just comfortable.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's where I love to go and like to take folks, and also that's enjoy a little whiskey too. So I will make my way over to Leaper's Fork. Has a great distillery over there, and Franklin is actually the kind of the center point and hub of the statewide whiskey trail. So you can make your way to several great whiskey distilleries across the state, kind of with a base camp in Franklin.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, for more information on visiting Franklin, Tennessee, consult your travel agent and go to visitfranklin.com. Matthew, thank you so much for your time and visiting with us today.
Yeah, that's great.
Absolutely. Happy to be here, guys.
Hey everyone, if you're ready to plan your next family vacation, call my dad. He would love to help you as a certified travel agent. He never charges a fee to help you plan your vacation. Email him at rjones@starsteptravel.com. Get started planning your vacation today.
That does it for this week's show. Join us next week as we wrap up our series on holiday destinations. Till next time.
Thank you for listening to The Family Vacationer. Make sure and subscribe to hear more of Rob and Danny.